Elliot Wise. How you got to that point at 19 and then how you've kept it going and building on it from there.
I had the drive and mindset to do something other than just waste my life. I got paid £300 for it, but back when you're 13, that was all the money in the world, man. I was like, I am rich. By the time I was 16, I'd done a few websites. We're probably doing £1 or £2 a month at that point. It was nothing crazy, but it was enough to then build the next stage, which was
I'm not going to look at crypto right now because everyone's looking there.
and if you make it overnight, these crypto guys suddenly make millions, they're going broke. I was so hell-bent on making money. Everything was about making money. That's all I cared about. My role models were the most extreme people in making money. But what I failed to look at was every single thing that you could possibly need in your life right now to live unbelievably successfully in every realm of your life. Health, wealth, relationships. Killed it on the entrepreneurial side. And it wasn't until I got married and I had my first son that things started to change.
Elliot Wise, the man, the myth, the legend. I'm glad we're here today and glad we're doing this because I've seen you blow up with your content online and everything that you're getting the traction of on Instagram and all the social platforms with the gentlemanly way that you're producing. And I love that. But I know for a fact that you're a millionaire at 19 years old. Mm-hmm. Now, I see the way that you carry yourself today, and I know that you've had to transform your whole self to get to this level. But you understood from an early age the magnetism of money and how to create it and keep it in your life. So I want you to talk about how you got to that point at 19 for a start, and then how you've kept it going and building on it from there.
Well, first of all, thank you for having me, Frankie. Pleasure
It's
to
an
have.
absolute pleasure.
Oh, look at that. So I actually had my first business at 13, web design. I was blessed in the period that I was born. So yes, I came from a relatively humble background, council house, but southeast of England, very, average suburban style upbringing. Very normal family. To be fair, a lot of my family, women in the family don't work. The men, kind of normal jobs, working class jobs. Not around a lot of money, but I was comfortable. Never want for anything. Didn't ever need food in the fridge. But for whatever reason, I just had this insatiable appetite to do something more. I didn't know what to do with money. I didn't know what it was. It was this. There's got to be more than this. And I saw the internet come out, as you did. We were born in this era that's just nuts. We went from playing Game Boys that were black and white to all of a sudden computers, dial-up AOL internet, and then this thing comes out called the internet with search engines and all the other stuff, and everyone's like, this fad's going to go, this, that, and the other. This was coming into the dot-com boom and all that kind of era. So I was living through that. I thought, I don't want to paper around. There's something in this. I'm going to learn to make a website. I don't know why. Just intuition told me this was the thing. It was a new technology. Plus, when you're 11, 12 years old, what else you got going on? I was playing games and just being a kid. So decided, I was a proper geek, by the way. So people don't know this about me. Proper geek. Painted Warhammer, drew, just all the little the things you get bullied for at school. That was me. I played Dungeons and Dragons at secondary school, proper hardcore geek. And I was like, I'm going to build a Warhammer website for myself. So Microsoft Front Page is a software that enabled you to start building a website without needing to code. Then I dug a bit deeper. CSS, JavaScript, HTML. I'm going to start making websites. Okay, who am I going to sell them to? Okay, well, let me ask every single teacher, parents, friends, and everybody. And I got my first web design client it was actually a second cousin of mine who had a lighting company. And I convinced him he needed this thing to catalog his website. And I took it so seriously. When I got an accountant, I was like, right, I'm making this business. And I think it was my dad's friend. He just knew an accountant. So he was like, yeah, I think they just indulged me, which is nice. So I was allowed to play this fantasy out. I was never told by my parents. This is one thing I've been always gifted with, is my parents weren't wealthy in financial sense, but they gave me the wealth of allowing myself to trial and be inquisitive and
Open up that mindset.
Mate, that's the most important thing you could possibly have, is not to stifle people. The whole of society nowadays is exactly that, stifling young kids. I had parents that didn't. They just wanted to see me play out my fantasies and have fun and ultimately just be happy. And they saw that was making me happy. Go for it. They didn't have any preconceived notions in what I should be doing. I think that was actually a blessing because they didn't come from a background where they were doctors or engineers. Not that that's a bad thing, but there was no culture in my family of an expectation to where I needed to be when I was older. And as a result, they let me do what I needed to do. Fortunately, I had the drive and mindset to do something other than just waste my life. And I applied that to making something out of it, which was initially web design. Cut a long story short, built my first website, took me about 6-7 months. It was crap. I got paid £300 for it, but back when you're 13, that was all the money in the world, man. I was like, I am rich.
That was a lot of money.
Mate, a lot of money at like 13 years old, especially when you'd made it. I remember my friends had paper rounds getting like £12.50 a week or something for cycling in the pissing down rain through the UK, delivering letters and getting their hands bitten by dogs. And that was it. I was hooked. After that, I managed to get 2 guys in my class, Tom and Jamie, convinced one of the guys to start coding, the other guy to start doing graphics. And I was like, well, I'm going to start finding clients. I didn't get many, but by the time I was 16, I'd done a few websites. We're probably doing £1 or £2 a month at that point. It was nothing crazy, but it was enough to then build the next stage, which was e-commerce. Because as you can imagine, this was like the OG days of e-commerce. That didn't even exist really when the internet first came out. It was just a catalog website. Then it went into, okay, we can actually sell online. And there was all these open source softwares coming out. It wasn't like now you go on Shopify and you can build a store in 5 minutes and actually start selling. It was, we have to download this code, we have to engineer it, code it, figure out how to then build an app. Like we had to build half the plugins ourselves, merchant providers, everything else, and then start trying to sell online. So I actually got approached by someone that knew my dad. So my dad has a really small manufacturing company. Like, you know, it's very humble, doesn't make a lot of money, but he's a kind of risk-averse guy, just wants a nice life. He's not an aspirational guy. But he, obviously through that, has met people that are more entrepreneurial rather than just your business managers 9 to 5. And a guy approached him and said, do you know anyone, just coincidentally, that can sell stuff online? And obviously he had a chat with me, can you do this, Elliot? I was like, well, if I can't, I can figure out how, because that was the point I couldn't. He was actually a sales rep for a lighting company. So he would be able to get lighting products at a massively reduced rate because he actually wasn't allowed to sell. So this was the arbitrage. He technically couldn't sell for the companies himself because he was a middleman between the company and the retailers. So he said to me, well, look, if we set the company up under your name, we'll go through your account, I can get the same prices of people spending $1 million a year on these Philips bulbs and all this other stuff. So you can have, as a one-man band, the same prices as these people with huge buying power, and we're going to business together. So that sounds like a good idea. They'll ship it out for you for the most part, and we'll give it a go. So this was at 16. This was just before, in the UK we have sixth form. So after you leave, you do your GCSEs, you go and do college, and there's a 6-7 week summer between.
Yeah.
I decided, I was like, right, got Jamie, Tom on the coding for use a software called Zencart, build this thing out, right? The guy that was doing the business with Mark, he came and just dumped, I think it must have been 15 catalogs, all about 3,000 pages each. Can you imagine back then, they didn't have like a drive or just digital stuff. It was CDs, big catalogs with all the text in for each product, and the CDs just had folders of images on. They weren't even labeled.
So you just had to build out the whole.
So it was like, right, here's 10,000 products we want to put on the website. I didn't know anything about e-commerce back then. It was like, here's 10,000 products we want to put on the website. Here's the discs with the images on, and all the information's on this magazine or these catalogs. So it's like, so I have to find the image to associate with the product, and then I have to find all the text and write it up myself. Yeah. I was like, right, that's my summer done then. So literally all 3 of us were in a room for morning till night. I did obviously a lot more and carried on through the weekends. 7 days a week, inputting all this information from the catalogs, every single thing that I could possibly find. Every hour I was awake, just literally writing this stuff out, bullet pointed list. It was literally just a bullet point, 50 watt halogen lamp, all the specs, and just write that onto the Zencart website. Got to the end of summer and was like, holy shit, we're ready to launch. We're ready to launch. And bang, launch day. I'm so excited.
You're thinking all these sales are going to come in.
I'm like, hours gone by. 2 hours gone by. Day, 2 days. Mark's going, Elliot, where's the sales? I'm like, I don't know. Is it working? Are we testing the card, making sure everything's working? Yeah, it seems to be working. Shit. I've missed this marketing thing, because no one was talking about it back then. There wasn't like YouTube where you can go and like figure out e-commerce. I was like, how do I get people on the site? SEO was just becoming like a thing back then. But there was this thing that just launched, Google AdWords. Google AdWords. So I had a girlfriend back then. I think I just turned 17. I was 17. I said, look, she's called Shanice. I said, we're going to go to Egypt for a week. I said, I'm going to pay for it. You're going to sit by the pool. She loves sunbathing. I said, I am just going to read a book. She was like, what? I was like, I just need to go and clear my head and read this book for a week. I went to PC World and bought Google AdWords for Dummies. It's like the 101 of how to run Google AdWords, like one of the first guys that ever invented it. Someone asked me the other day, what's the best book you've ever bought? I said, Google AdWords for Dummies. It's maybe more money than you can possibly imagine, because that was the thing that triggered my knowledge of marketing and understanding PPC, paying for attention. Went to Egypt, just literally sat by the pool, just making notes. I'm pretty gifted in that I can read a book and retain quite a lot of it, so I didn't have to write anything down. I could just make notes and highlight things. Came back, launched my first Google AdWords campaign. Bang. We're cooking.
What was the cost per click back then?
Oh man, we were paying like pennies, 1 to 5p. I'd be annoyed if we didn't get a sale for anything like less than £1.
I remember Gary Vee talking about buying wine terms for like 15 cents a term. It's mental, isn't it, when you think about how cheap it was back then?
Yeah, it was unbelievable. The arbitrage was insane. I didn't appreciate just how good it was. You think this thing is going to last forever, right? Had I known, I would have gone and leveraged my eyeballs to just spend money on ads, because you could literally just print. I wasn't optimizing the website. I wasn't doing anything. I just had bullet points. But I was one of the first people running the first thing. So lesson to be learned was, I learned this very early on. Spot the trends and try to be early if possible.
Yeah. I remember my first journey into entrepreneurship was contentremover.com, which I've still got now. Quick one for you guys. If you're loving this conversation and you're getting immense value, consider hitting that subscribe button and turn the notification bells on, as it lets us know that we're creating the right content for you at the right time. And I remember I launched in September 2017. By December 2017, I had $500,000 a year in retained revenue, right? Already done, yeah? And I thought, because it was my first foray into entrepreneurship, I went, I'm going to go sit on the beach now and just chill and just keep that rolling and just tick over on that, because I'd never seen that type of money before. So I didn't aspire to have more. It was only years later when I aspired to have more. I'm like, fuck, but I've missed. I should have gone balls to the wall right then and there and gone to like 2.5, 3, 4, 5 million. But I just didn't have the capacity because I didn't know what I didn't know. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. And I think we all get that. You were launching these AdWords, and I presume you were making a lot of sales straight away, right? But you just don't see what you've got until the Facebook ads or the Google ads down the track cost £15 per click, and then you're like, oh, fucking hell, I've missed the boat now.
Beautiful thing about life is it will present us with things over and over again that we take for granted until we lose it. It's actually one of the most wonderful things about life, is that we're gifted with things constantly: time, women, money, opportunity. And then when it's yanked away and it breaks us, we then appreciate that thing. That's part of how we learn, because some things in life, we have to learn the hard way. We cannot be told. And sometimes we don't realize what we've got until it's gone. But that's an absolute blessing, because providing you approach that from a positive perspective of, I now need to be more grateful and more appreciative with my life, with my time, with these opportunities, and also more aware. Not bumbling around on top of all this gold, not realizing just what's underneath your feet, that it's whipped away from you.
One of the things I've learned in life, Elliot, is that all these trends are the same trends, but just in different models, in different niches and different times. So for argument's sake, we're now in a time where every man and his dog's talking about crypto and meme coins and buying these things, right? And I've been through, like, I think this is my 3rd crypto cycle. This time, I'm not going to get pulled into buying meme coins and buying all the stuff and be talking about crypto right now. I'm going to concentrate on my boring business and making money in my boring business this time. And I'm going to ignore the crypto hype. And yeah, I might funnel off some cash made from my boring business into the crypto and just leave it there and let it do what it does. but I'm not going to look at crypto right now because everyone's looking there. And I learned that from the last time I did it. I made a load of money, lost a load of money. Like it's just because, but then my traditional business was dropping down because I was looking at this crypto bullshit, you know? And I think people get pulled off into the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. I think what you learn from the trend is the concentration at that point in time is what gives you the results, yeah?
We have the craziest level of shiny object syndrome as human beings. The whole social media sphere, marketing, people like us are selling things to get people onto something. We're trying to influence people to get into things. And as humans, inherently, we just love to get on the hype. And the thing about crypto and anything else that's shiny, right? It's not to say that crypto's bad. It's not to say that e-commerce is bad. It's not to say that affiliate marketing or whatever it is, real estate, whatever you get into is bad. It's that you detract from the thing that you have built a skill in to make money for something you have no clue in. And there's one caveat with crypto, actually. Now, look at crypto. You can put money in it, and you might, if you're extremely lucky and you win the lottery, go to the moon, right? Great. The likelihood is you're probably going to lose the money that you put in. Just being completely honest, we've seen it over and over again. The crust of people will win the lottery, go to the moon. Great. But then what? You've made all this money from crypto from a big bump. How do you repeat that? You can't repeat luck. You can't repeat lottery wins. Whereas if you put the same amount of money and investment into a skill, to digital marketing, to e-commerce, to real estate, to construction, to whatever it is that you want to do, you're probably not going to go to the moon overnight, but you will get to a point where you can consistently make £10,000 a month every single month for the rest of your life, no matter what happens to the economy, to the market, and secure yourself, your family, and your future forever. I know which investment I want to make. So when this crypto stuff comes up, I'm not fazed because I know that I want to be making recurring revenue with a skill that I can rely on, not some fluke and luck. And if you look at the richest people on the planet, you look at the top 100 richest, they all made their money in different ways. Pick the thing that you want to focus on and just become laser on that. That's the biggest lesson I've learned, because as a true entrepreneur, you and I will have this, right? We get dumped with the biggest opportunities on our desk on a weekly basis.
Yeah.
And you think, ooh, I can make a lot of money from that. Yeah. Do you want to get involved, Frankie? Yeah, let's get involved in that. All of a sudden, a few units of your time a day then go from the thing that you were focusing on to that. Oh, another thing comes up. Because you have the ability to see opportunity, there is infinite amounts of opportunity out there to make money. There's infinitely good options and good avenues and great people to network with and go down, but you got to pick one until one is so well established and it's just printing and chucking out money. Don't focus on anything else. Become so bloody good at something that you don't even have to think to make money from it. And that's the key. And most people never get there because of all of this noise. And the world is set up that way to keep you where you're at. And that's, you hear about this system, this, that, and the other. Like, people go way too deep with it. Ultimately, there's just a lot of distraction out there. There's a lot of noise. And we have to just be focused on that thing that we want, simply. But the crypto space is a gamble, unless you want to make that a full-time job. And I know some of the best traders around. They're mathematicians. They risk diversify and they know what they want to make as a percentage every single week. It's boring, actually. I wouldn't want their life. They're like, oh, okay, I'm making 10% return. That's my risk profile. Putting it through spreadsheets, building their own formulas, using artificial intelligence to make sure they retain that level of return. It's not going into the casino and throwing a load of money on a meme coin and hoping that you become rich. That's not what the traders do. That's what all the idiots think is how they make money. So back to your point, pick something, get bloody good at it, get it to a point where it can make you an income, and then you're secure. That's the trick. It's like you go broke tomorrow, you can set up again. That's security. People think it's the income or it's the wealth they've got that's security. It's not. It's the ability to make it again should you lose it all. That's the real key.
Yeah, and this is what you're saying. Like, if you go and make money off a pump on a coin, now you've got a problem. Because now you've got money. One, you didn't have to work hard to get the money, so now you don't know how to keep it because you've got no appreciation for it, and you don't know the skills of how to get back there. Now you're in. Now this is why there's a lot of people that operate scared in that position, because you never know if it's going to come again. wouldn't it be prudent then to learn the skills that are repeatable that can get you to the goal should you lose it?
The other side of that as well is we tend to have very little respect for anything that comes easy. And you need to respect money to be able to cultivate it and generate more from it. If you have no respect for money, if you look at, not all of them, but if you look at like trust fund kids and very wealthy sons and daughters of billionaires, they have no clue about money and the respect that you need to, one, make it, but more importantly, keep it. It's very hard to keep money when you have never, ever had to earn it. Very hard. This is why you'll see a lot of businessmen will get into business with people that have had money for a long time. They don't care how successful you are quickly, they care how successful you are over a period of time. Because the hardest skill is having the discipline to respect it enough to not squander it and maintain it. If you see someone that's been wealthy for 40 years, they have a very good grasp of money. They have self-discipline, they have structure, they have a skill. All of the elements that are required to create long-term wealth are around your ability to be financially literate and respectful of that thing. And if you make it overnight, these crypto guys suddenly make millions, they're going broke. They are 100% going broke, and there's nothing worse than going into a private jet, never having been through all the economy class and everything else, then having to go right back thereafter. It's almost better not to have ever had it if you're going to lose it all, and then just never taste that again.
This is why I picked like one of my mentors. His name's Peter Try. This is why Peter is a great mentor to me, because he's like worth 200 million. He's been involved in manufacturing. He teaches me these ways and to look at money that I'd never even thought of, so you can actually retain it. And he said to me, one of the most profound things he said to me the other day when I was on a Zoom call with him, he goes to me, Frankie, you can make 10 to 30 million, and 30 million is the number you've got to make. He says, you make 10 to 30 million inside a 3 to 5 year window as a sprint once you've attained the knowledge to unlock the door. And when you started to break this down for me on this hour call, I'm like, I can see why people like that, having people like that in your life just zooms your trajectory further forward. It's why important but always pick your mentor as someone whose values you respect and you see in them. Like, I respect the fact that he's married to his wife, the way he looks after his sons and educates his sons, the way he operates as a man. So I don't just pick a mentor just because of Peter's worth 200 million. No, Peter's worth 200 million. He's a Christian man. He looks after his wife. He treats his sons with respect. He teaches his sons the role of hard work. He understands that not only does he own the manufacturing, he owns the distribution, and he owns. Now he's taking parts in other people's businesses with creators when they're making like sauces and stuff, which is what he does. So he understands all the facets of the game. You know what I mean? And old money like that is way better to learn off than all these guys like info marketers that have made like 10 million on ClickFunnels, So you can get a lot from that. Have you got people like that in your life as mentors?
Absolutely. And most of them, as you said, have come from looking at them holistically. I was so hell-bent on making money through my 20s. Like, everything was about making money. That's all I cared about. My role models were the most extreme people in making money. But what I failed to look at was all of the other elements of that person. So for me, as you said, reverse engineering someone is extremely dangerous if you don't take into consideration the other elements of that person. You look at one thing in isolation. It's actually very easy if you give no shits about anyone on this planet. You don't care about your health. To just focus on wealth and make money. Would you want that person's life? That's completely miserable, no parents because they've burnt the bridges with them, horrendous relationships with women. If they have kids, probably don't speak to them. I've met these guys. A lot of them were role models for me back in the day because I was so enamored by their ability to make money. At the expense of what? So having a role model, and for me, it is normally wiser older people that I look at and go, would I want to be that person in 40 years' time? Do I like their character? Do I like how they interact with their family, their wife, their kids? And also, do they have the wealth and accolades and respect from others that I want? Because we live in a day and age now where it's not just good enough to be a good parent. It's not good enough to just be a good husband, not good enough to just be rich, not good enough to just be in shape. If you want to succeed now, you got to be elite in every single pillar. Every single one. And I genuinely believe there's no excuse
Not to be.
not to be. We can be unbelievable. We just have to work harder.
Well,
It's just a matter of laziness. You're encountering every single day when you do these podcasts. There's elite people now that are excelling in every area. And I believe that in today's society, you now need to, because your competition is going to absolutely destroy you because they're so well-rounded.
The reason I respect what you do is because my parents were married for 44 years, right? Been married 44 years. Very traditional family, right? You're married to your wife and you run in the same way that I see my family run, you know? And I believe that your family ran the same way as my family do, right? And I see Peter as my mentor. His family runs the same way as I grew up. What I'm saying is you have to live in congruency with what you know. And, you know, pick a mentor or pick anyone in life or pick anyone you look up to represent what you represent. The problem is that most people are going out and getting mentors that don't represent the true value of them. They might have got one area of their life right, but one area in the game, when you, like today, when you said you've got to have all these 4 areas, you've got to have your health, your mindset, everything's got to be right. Your money's got to be right. Your morals have got to be right. Everything's got to be right before you can before you can get to that next level, right? And there's so many men and women out there that have everything right. Why would you pick a mentor that doesn't have everything right, is what I'm saying. It's crazy to me.
Mate, absolutely. There's so many more elements to it. There's so many more elements to it. And yeah, I had mentors and ultimately that was, I was blessed, you know, and also you picked up there actually that, you know, it's what you may know or it's maybe not what you ever had. So my parents got divorced at 9. So I saw the things I didn't want to happen for me. It's one or the other, right? So it can come from lacking or it can come from having had it. But either way, you know what you want and that's what you need to figure out.
So you decide what you want. So I was lucky enough to have parents that were married and had that traditional value. You had a parents that are divorced, but you decided you wanted, you looked at someone like my parents as role models. So you made your life, you decided what you want and you went after that.
Absolutely.
And you've brought that into your life. All I'm encouraging everyone that listens to this to do is to sit down today in front of a pad, write down what you want and how you want your life to look, and then pick your mentors predicated on what you say you want your life to look like. So for argument's sake, if you say that you want your life to look like more of these traditional values, you can't then have a mentor that's got 5 different girlfriends, 6 different babies. Like you can't do that because that's not congruent. Even if he's made money, he's not congruent in all areas of his life with your goal that you wrote down. So you can't have that guy as a mentor. That's what I'm saying.
Reverse back even further than that. I would encourage everybody here watching this to actually figure out what the bloody hell they want. I did a mastermind this weekend and I had a chat with a young guy, he's 18. And he said, when I get back from this mastermind, he was a barber, he's got a really good social media presence. I'm going to open up my own shop. I'm going to do this. He was like, I'm super motivated and inspired. And I said, great. I'm really encouraged that massively. But I said, has anyone asked you, and have you even asked yourself, what it is that you want out of life? He went, yeah, I want to travel. I'm going to do this. Whoa. You just told me you want to set up a physical location. You want to have all these staff. You want to cut hair every single day. How are you going to manage that? And also what you just told me in terms of the financial side of what you want, this ain't going to cut it. Excuse the pun. How are you going to achieve this life with this model? I don't know. I said, before you go hell for leather in setting up a lifestyle, which by the way, everything is changeable. That's another topic. You can change anything in your life if you have the skill set and the balls to do it. But it's so much easier if before you go into this life and you pick a job role, you pick a business to get into, you get the right vehicle from day one that's going to get you to exactly where you want to be. The great thing about entrepreneurship and the life and the opportunities we're afforded with now is you can create the life that you want in any way you want to do it. But you have to figure out what that is prior to actually getting in the car. And yes, it can change. Life gets in the way. You're going to evolve as a human being, and it's likely to evolve into something different. However, if it's much more in line with where you think you're going to go, because you've actually asked yourself the question of, I want to be here because this is me and this is what I want for my life, and this is the vehicle I need to get there, not because my parents have told me that's where I want to go, or I think that's what I want to do, or I went to a mastermind and this is what these guys were doing. What do you bloody want? honestly, you ask 99 people out of 100 what they really want from life, they actually don't know. And then if they say, I want this, I say, why? They go, ooh, not quite sure. What do you mean not quite sure? This is your bloody life. You've got one shot. Time is the most precious thing that we have, and you're willing to spend the next 20, 25 years building something that you think might not necessarily get you to where you want to go. You wouldn't jump in the car and just hope that you end up at the right location without even knowing why you got in the car in the first place, but yet people bet their entire life on that. I find it astronomically mind-blowing that that's even a conversation topic nowadays. And also, why on earth do we not have the academic system that even asks that question? They kind of do when you're young. What do you want to be when you're older? That all stops when you get to secondary school. Why? Oh, it's because we want you to go down the path that we're going to indoctrinate you into. Rather than say, am I happy? Am I with the right partner? Have I got good friends? Do I like what my parents are telling me to do? Ask why. That question, that word, needs to be tattooed on people's forehead. Why? Why am I doing this? Why do I feel this way? Why have I decided to go on this path? It's not hard.
Another good question is it for me? Because there's many times in my life, my younger life, where I've gone through and I've achieved things, like even becoming a professional boxing trainer and working at world title level. I did that to prove other people wrong, not for me.
Mm-hmm.
And when I stood in the ring and there's 15,000 people and it's a WBO world title fight, I'm looking out at the ring and I'm feeling empty. Mm-hmm. And I'm wondering why. And I'm like, wow, powerful lesson, Frankie. You leant your ladder against the wrong wall and you climbed it. And I want everyone that listens to this today to make sure your ladder isn't leaning against the wrong wall in your life, because if it is and you climb it and you get to the top of what you perceive as your pinnacle to try and prove other people wrong in your life or to prove something in your childhood that you haven't overcome the trauma of, when you do get there, and you'll get there, you'll stand there and you'll be the most emptiest vessel that you've ever had in your entire life.
So the thing is, nearly everyone needs to mess up and go down the wrong path. That's almost a prerequisite, because we need to have context and perspective into what is actually good. It's like having a bad girlfriend and then realizing what a good girlfriend is. If you've always only ever had the good one, you don't appreciate the bad one.
I could tell you what a bad one looks like.
Exactly. Now, life is the same. You almost have to go down the wrong path. But the travesty is, and the thing that really breaks my heart, is when that person gets to 80 years old, and that's when they realize. And it's absolutely gut-wrenching for me to see, because they had all this potential. They had this life that they were blessed with, and they didn't ask the question, why, before. And I don't want people to do that. And I genuinely just want to have impact. Big thing that I want is just for people to ask why. It's not for me, it's not for anyone else, it's for them. That would be amazing.
Guys, before we go into this podcast is sponsored by contentremoval.com. If you're looking to remove any images, videos, search results, fake accounts, or anything else online, go to contentremoval.com. We've looked after everybody from the likes of Alex Hormozy, Kayla Racines, Tammy Hembrow, to a whole host of other brands and celebrities that you know and love. And we'd love to help you with your issues online. So if you have any issues online and you want to get in touch with us, click the link below this video and go to contentremoval.com.
Before you made your first million, because I think you made your first million at 19 years old in e-commerce.
Yes.
From this website that we're talking about before, yeah?
Yeah, so that evolved. The first website kind of went down the Swanee.
Yeah.
It didn't really work. Well, I had to rebrand it. I got the branding wrong. I didn't understand. So SEO back then as well, you could put, if you put like lighting into the URL, that would get ranked on Google. So I changed mate, it was nuts back then. You could do all the shit that you couldn't do now to get attention and awareness. So I just exploited all of that. That evolved. By 19, I was doing really good numbers. I think we were hitting 2.5 million revenue at about 65% profit margin.
Beautiful.
You can't do that in e-com nowadays like I did back then. And I was, on paper, millionaire. I was close to that liquid. I remember I actually went to university of economics as well. So by the way, in all of this, I'm not a big proponent of academia, but I am one of the few people that actually went through it as well. So I can sit there and say, from a place of actually having done it, a non-biased perspective on it, because I think it does come with a lot of pros as well. From a social perspective, the actual shit you learn at school is completely irrelevant, but there is a lot of benefits to it. So I did an economics degree. I was going to the gym twice a day. I was running a web design company and an e-commerce company all at the same time from 18 plus. So there is no bloody excuse. And then for me, I hit 19 and I was at school. That's when I bought my 911 Turbo. At university, Southampton University, doing economics.
How did that feel buying your first 911?
Oh, mate, biblical. I can't explain. And this is the other thing, big lesson here. So many things happen for the first time in your life, and it's the best that thing is ever going to feel. Yet we're so hell-bent on looking at the next thing. I remember I got my first 911 Turbo. I turned up to the guy's house. It was parked outside the front. It was in Surrey. And I lost my shit. We've gone around the corner. I was there with my mate, Eamon, because I was like, bro, you got to come with me, because as soon as I see this car, the fact that I can even afford to buy it, it was a second-hand one. It wasn't brand new. 996 Turbo S. Went around the corner. I said, when we're there, you need to look over the documents for me, because I know as soon as I see this car, I'm just going to lose my mind. If the engine had fallen out, I probably wouldn't have even seen it, because I know I'm just going to be too excited. And I went around the corner, and he even lost his mind as well. It was like we were just going nuts. We saw this car, got out of the car, and I was like, yeah, it's nice. You know, it's secretly inside, absolutely screaming with enjoyment. I've never been able to replicate that feeling ever again, because I remember at that point, I was also thinking about what the next car was going to be. And this is the best lesson I've ever learned. When you feel these emotions and these elations, because it's the first time you've ever had them, savor it. Be in the moment. Be present, because it's likely that you'll never feel that good ever again about that thing and that event.
Yeah.
It was incredible, man. I can't lie. It was insane. It's one of those things in life, like that's a period of true elation and happiness. That's not what I define as happiness, because happiness is a journey no matter whether you're sad, stressed. That's a different conversation topic. But in that moment, it's like I'd won life.
It's funny, I was sat on the rooftop of the place rewriting my goals the other day in Dubai. And I'm rewriting these. I have 3 goals. I have one for podcast, one for business, and one for my life, right? Because I think anything more than 3 and you're taking the piss, because you're not going to hit them, right? And then I went back and looked at my laptop, and I realized the view that I was looking at when I was writing the goals was a view on the back of my laptop.
Yeah.
On my vision board, one of the views. And I was like, wow, I need to realign it again, because like that part's been achieved as well. It's amazing what you can achieve with concentration and when you actually reflect on what you're actually doing, you know. And I was actually sat there the other day, same place, just taking a moment, because obviously I recorded the Andrew Tate podcast, which was a real, you know, pinnacle moment for me, because it was on my vision to record that podcast from when I started.
Yep.
And there's been so many people along the way that have tried to stop these kind of pinnacle moments in my podcast career, as we speak, stop from happening, right? There's been so many roadblocks. And I just sat there, like you said, and I sat there and I was watching my own Netflix documentary on YouTube at the view that I dreamed of, you know? And I just savored it for a moment. Now, I knew that there was more work to be done, but I thought I need to just have 10 minutes where I just go, do you know what? You've produced a good piece of content there, Frankie. And everything, I know how much sweat, blood, tears, travel. You've been to like however many countries you've been to, 12, 15 countries to get all this done. Like that's good. Just have a moment, mate. Just chill out. And then after 10 minutes, I'm like, right, part 2's coming out soon. I've got to get that ready, got to get this ready, got to get ready for Elliot, and then back on the mode. But you need that pause you're telling people to take. I understand it very well. And if people don't take it, you'll just constantly be chasing the next thing and the next thing and the next thing, and it never ends.
How do you know the things that you do in life, maybe meeting someone, hugging someone, saying I love you, might not be the last time you ever do that thing? It's profound when you think about that. It might be the last time you ever meet someone. You don't even know. That person might be the closest person to you on the planet. It might be the last time you ever had a stay over at a mate's. Do you remember when the last time it was you ever had your last sleepover at a friend's house when you were younger? Without knowing it, that was the last time.
I had a former guest of the show called Jackson Tippett who died from a heart attack literally hours before I filmed the Daniel Dallin podcast. And he had messaged me like 3 or 4 days before, voice note, mate, it'd be great to catch up. And I just thought to myself, wow, this guy's younger than me, man. Life is extremely short. Could I have recorded a minute longer voice note back to him? Could I have called him up? You know what I mean? Like all these things go through your head when these things happen. Former guest of the show is the first one I've ever had that's died as a guest of the show. You know what I mean? It hit me immensely. I'm like, life is so short. You've only got a short window of time to get all this done, you know?
Man, it's we can't go out every single day acting as though we're never going to speak to that person ever again. However, we do need to take some of that concept and apply it to our day. We need to anchor ourselves in gratitude that we're even bloody breathing, and also be mindful of the fact, as you say, it might be the last time you ever see that person. You never know what's going to happen around the corner. And you have to deploy gratitude in that. It's not to be scared of it. It's to just be appreciative of how fucking amazing life actually is. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm all for sacrifice, hard work, pain, because that's what forges change. But that's not to say you can't stop every now and then, smell the success that you've created, be proud of the man that you've become, look in the mirror and genuinely just tap yourself on the back and say, fucking job. And I genuinely used to believe through my 20s because I was so consumed by this ideology that pain and sacrifice is what I had to feel, and I wasn't allowed to feel gratitude or pleasure in order for me to grow. For whatever reason, whatever red pill I swallowed, I believed that that was what I had to anchor myself in to actually succeed. Otherwise, I'd become too comfortable and I ultimately wouldn't want to continue because life is comfortable. Well, actually, no. Stopping every now and then just to anchor myself in the moment fueled me because it made me realize what I'd managed to achieve. And that's not being egotistical. That's not being arrogant. It's just saying, fuck me, man. Life is precious and you're actually making a good shot at it. Are you proud of who you are becoming? Is this the right path that you're on? Yeah, damn right. If I die tomorrow, have I achieved what I want to achieve? No. Would I be proud of what I've achieved and who I've become? Yes. Then great, you're on the right path. That for me that's the barometer. You will never, ever, ever hit the goal that you want to hit. That's the both cruel and amazing thing about elite people like us. We're blessed with never being content. Because without the contentment, we strive for more and we become pioneers and visionaries for other human beings to then enjoy the things that we create. And that's a prerequisite for someone that becomes massively successful. We're blessed to be discontented. And as a result, I find gratitude in that. And that's what drives me. I love the fact that I'm never happy with my results, but I anchor the perspective of if I were to die today or tomorrow, would I be proud of who I am, what I've achieved, and the path that I'm on? That's the success, not the end result. And that's what we have to push. And so many people that are like us don't ever figure that out. And they constantly strive for this goal, this fictitious materialistic goals typically, that they're never ever going to hit. Yeah. But that's the great thing. That's the thing that makes us create amazing things. And some human beings have to have that. But the sad part is they're never happy. And this is what I'm trying to tell people. We'll get on to this in a bit. But there is a better way of playing this game. And you can still enjoy it while still being discontented with your results. But anchor yourself in the fact that you love the journey and you're proud of what you're doing. And you're becoming a man that you admire and respect.
Yeah, I'm very proud of what I'm building and what I'm doing. But it's like, people are saying to me, oh, mate, great podcast, you know, really highly produced, all this, that, and the other. I'm like, yeah, that's great, boys, and girls, but feel that I was put on this planet. I feel a great affiliation to Australia. Like, wherever I go, I represent that country. I don't know what it is, but it's my spiritual home. I love that country, right? The way, in my head, I'm like, I'm going to be the biggest education podcaster in the whole history of Australian podcasting that's ever done it. And I'm going to get Elon, I'm going to get Trump, I'm going to get everyone that's never been on an Australian podcast, right? I'm going to get them all. And I'm going to nail these episodes and I'm going to bring value. And I feel like I'm representing a country. Like, I feel the burden on me. And like, people are going, oh, that's a great podcast. I'm like, mate, you don't understand. I'm at war here. We've only got 26 million people in Australia. I'm going to war with like countries that have 300 million people, like the US. I'm like, people don't understand, but I have to feel that burden and that pressure on myself to turn up the way that I want to turn up in this world. So I artificially create it to make it happen. Like me and you were talking off this podcast the other day at dinner. And we were talking about the importance of having an enemy. Now, the enemy doesn't have to be public, but you and me both know that you have to have an enemy in what you're doing in order to create that fire within you to get you to the next level. Now, I have an enemy in podcasting. You probably have an enemy in business. That's good for you.
Plenty of enemies, mate.
Plenty of enemies, right? And that kicks you on to the next level. Patrick Bet-David wrote a book, Pick Your Enemies Wisely, or something along those lines. And you should absolutely have an enemy in whatever you're doing because you need it to get to that next level. you agree?
I couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more. We are hunters, and as such, we get up every single day and go to war. We go to fight. If we don't have an enemy, why would we get out of bed? You take the hunt away from the man becomes purposeless and therefore insignificant and unhappy. But we also have to realize that because we're hunters and that's our job and our role and our purpose and makes us fulfilled, find happiness in that. Not trying to realize that once you've got the boar, you've killed the enemy, that you're going to be happy, because you will become the biggest podcaster in Australia, I have no doubt. And then the next thing will occur and arrive, and then you'll innovate. This is why guys that conquer something then go into politics. They didn't want to, Donald Trump didn't just want to stop at becoming a multi-billionaire, had to become the president of the United States. It won't stop. There'll always be something else.
There's always more.
But he loves the journey. Yeah. I just want people to be bloody happy, man. I just want to see smiles on people's faces, as gay as it sounds. Why are we not enjoying a bloody life? There is so much fear-mongering, and even all these big marketers that sell the dream, that sell these lifestyle, it's all predicated off of fear. And they make you feel like even when you're going to achieve it, it's going to be sad. Just be happy. Do what you want to do. Make a shitload of money. Have amazing relationships. But more than anything, just find a way of enjoying it, no matter what.
But don't you think the enjoyment for us comes in the pursuit? Because yes. If me and you are both honest, if we're really honest, right? Me and you are in the relentless pursuit of our goals, whatever our goals are at the time. And that brings us a version, even though it's hard work, what we're doing, that brings us a little bit of happiness in the pursuit of that. That's where our true happiness comes. But me and you are out there pursuing these goals. For what reason? To provide for, I want to make sure my mum and dad have got healthcare. I want to make sure my niece and nephew I want to look after my sister. You know what I mean? I'm doing it. You're invariably doing it for women in your life, essentially. That's one of my driving forces. My niece, my mum, my sister. They're big driving forces. But I'm not. What I'm saying is, I don't pursue it for happiness. I'm pursuing the goal. I'm getting some happiness in the pursuit. My male version of happiness, but I'm not getting the female version of happiness, which is different.
No, so this is what I'm trying to say. As a certain individual, we need to define what we derive happiness from, but it's so people overlook where they get the happiness from because they think it's in the achievement of the goal, when actually guys like us, it's in the progress. So for me, it's not, the happiness doesn't come from setting a goal of getting to maybe 100K a month or $1 million a month or $1 million a day. Those are goals. The happiness comes from waking up every day and seeing improvement and working towards something.
Yeah.
So for me, I would rather be dead than not having something that I can progress in. And it doesn't always need to be monetary. It can be your physique. If you put me in the army, I'd want to become a general because I realize that for me, progression is happiness. Okay, let's redefine happiness actually. Happiness is not a fixed state. So this is really important. When you define terms, we actually get a better picture because people don't understand actually what you mean. There is moments of elation, like when you buy your first supercar. Nearly nothing, there's some other things that feel as good as that, but nearly nothing feels as good as buying your first supercar. I could tell you that for a fact. Now, that is a very fleeting emotion. That's elation. Whereas happiness for me is finding gratitude and fulfillment in breathing and being every single day in the things that we do. And for me, that is anchored in progress. Seeing me do something and achieve something above and beyond where I currently am every single day. But so many people just don't realize that's where their happiness is anchored. Happiness is not a fixed state. It is a fluid emotion. It is not something that you can just have in a moment. It's not a state. You can have happiness while you're stressed, while you're working, while you're sacrificing. You can be sad and be happy because of the life that you're living. Those emotions just come and go. But it's enjoying the journey and being happy. And that's why I keep going on about. And I know it's the reason I hammer this home is just because I see so few people experiencing happiness. I'm like, what the fuck is life all about if we don't enjoy the bloody thing?
Well, you got to define it, like you said, before you can experience anything. Mm-hmm. So define what your happiness is in essence, and then you can have it from today. But most people have never worked out what that is. So I think happiness is different for a man and a woman. I think a man needs to be in a constant pursuit in the hunt of his biggest goals. Otherwise, he's invariably going to be sat here, I'm bored, I'm this, I'm that. People could start talking about depression, all this stuff. you know, because they're just bored, you know, because they haven't got the pursuit of the next thing, the next thing, the next thing.
And ultimately, people might misconstrue this the wrong way. I've applied this to build empires. So the e-commerce business went on to do mega numbers. I did end up losing that with the business partner and ended up getting scammed out of money, this, that, and the other. Everything's my fault, by the way. That progressed into a marketing agency because when I lost my e-commerce, my first e-commerce, big e-commerce business, I then went, well, I'm actually moved back in with my mum. I've rented out my house. I spent a year building up another marketing agency. Within 6-7 months, I was already doing twice the profit that I was from the e-commerce business and had diversified my income by having different clients rather than one big e-commerce store. Then set up another lighting company and then just got momentum. I'll tell you one thing that's really important. I speak to so many people that are scared of having a loss because they make money for the first time and they're petrified of losing it because deep down, they're worried about whether or not they can make it back. I'll tell you what, the most empowering feeling is being absolutely knocked the fuck out by life and having your business taken away, only to then stand up and go and build it up again.
Yeah.
Then you know that you're secure. But if you're going through a loss or you've had a big loss, I would say it's a rite of passage because when you overcome that and you make it back again, that'll be the best lesson and feeling that you know you can back yourself and you can replicate it, which will then give you the power to play more aggressively down the line. You won't make defensive decisions because you're worried about losing the thing that you built. That's when you make ultra wealth because you're not playing from a place of fear. You're playing from a place of comfortability, knowing that you've always got your own back and you can build it back. The best bit like boxing. I'm guessing the first time you get knocked the fuck out, you're like, you don't know how you
I'll tell you about a stage, right? This fucking, I know what you're going to say. I fucking know. But I was sparring a guy called Marcello Renda, right? He's known as one of the most hard-hitting middleweights in British boxing, right?
Okay.
I was sparring him for 3 rounds in Vic's gym back in 2012, right? The geezer in round 2, he hits me with an overhand right, yeah? That I literally like saw coming and walked onto, like clean smack straight down the line, clean break right through the nose here, right? Congealed with blood, and I'm laying on my back on the floor. And you get a decision in that moment. You know you're fucked. You can't breathe now. When you get hit with overhand right hand like that, clean snap your nose for the first time. I'd never broken my nose before. Your throat is full of blood. Your nose is full of blood. You cannot breathe. You're in immense shock because you've never been hit and that hard by someone at that level. You're down on your ass. You're laying on your back on the floor. You're looking up at the ceiling. There's people watching you. So there's from the outside of the ring that are watching you sparring. So there's a pressure there that people can't describe. And you have to make a decision. Are you going to get up off your ass? Are you going to get up off the floor and try and finish this round? Or are you going to quit on yourself? Now, I made the decision to get up and take the battering because that's what I took for the rest of the round. I took the battering because I couldn't do anything about it. But you just take your licks, don't you? You have to understand in life when to get up and when to take your licks. Regardless of the outcome, you just have to do it. And you have to make a decision right then and then when that happens. And that's the same as the decision that you're talking about. You made the decision when you moved in with your mum that you're going to take the licks, you're going to take the arse whooping, you're going to go back to zero, you're going to get up off the fucking floor, and you're going to go and see if you can finish the round.
And when you did get up and finish the round, how did you then feel going into future fights, knowing that you could take that battering and still get up and walk into the ring?
Well, whenever I went into sparring across the country, whether it was Stanford ABC or Vic's gym or wherever I went, I felt better knowing I could take it, but I also knew in that moment that I wasn't built like him. He was built. The reason why he went and turned professional and did all that and did what he did in the ring and why he was successful at it was because he was built different. He had a different set of minerals in him. You can't teach the minerals. I was proud to get up, but fuck me, it took a lot for me to get up because like it damages your ego. Because when you get hit that fucking hard at that level, you can't describe how that hurts your fucking ego because you've never been there before. When you move back in your mum's house, when you've lost that e-commerce brand that's doing millions and everyone knows you as Elliot Wise, the guy that's doing millions on e-commerce before everyone else, that hurts your ego, right? And you've got to overcome that. So how did it feel for you overcoming that part of the ego that gets chipped away at? How did you repair that?
Mate, this is one of the first times I can remember properly crying as like what I would class as when I was a man. I remember everything just fell apart in front of my eyes. Everything I'd built, everything I'd worked towards. It's at my early 20s. And I sat in the garden at night. It must have been about 1 o'clock in the morning. It was raining. And I just had I had tears coming down my face. because it dented my ego. I was ashamed of having lost it, of what I allowed to happen. I was angry, I was bitter. And I was wallowing in self-pity. But then I had a conversation with myself in the garden at that point about how I was going to either be a victim at this point or just get the fuck back to work. And this is why it's really important to learn these lessons as early as possible, because I knew I had time. It doesn't feel like it at the time. It feels like your world's just come to an end. It feels like everything that you possibly ever worked towards has just been taken away from you, and how can you possibly ever recover from that? Motherfucker, that's your choice. I got back to work. I realized I didn't have problems, I just had more work to do. Simply.
That's a beautiful quote. I didn't have more problems, I just had more work to do.
That's it.
That is a quote.
That's it. Get to work, motherfucker. And that's empowering. And then that's what set me off on the trajectory that then I just knew I could conquer.
So
we're building empires now.
So you had the millions at 19. Then did you lose the millions?
Lost a lot.
Didn't
lose the house.
Guys, over the last 5 years, you've watched me travel around the world building this podcast in 9 countries with over 200 entrepreneurs. And one of the key things that I've learned is that every single one of these successful people have a playbook. They have a play-by-play of how they're going to operate their life, their mindset, and everything else so they can scale. So they can scale their money, their business, their life, and everything. I want to break that down for you. So what I've done is I've set up a weekly email that's going to be going live week in, week out, giving you a play-by-play of some of the most top entrepreneurs in the world, so you can understand how they're executing on their plan, so you can execute on it too. If this is something that interests you, click the link, sign up to the email below, and that'll be coming out weekly.
I had at the time a Bentley and a Range Rover. I managed to keep those. Try not to sell my cars at all costs. But I was quite industrious, so yes, I lost a lot of the income. I lost a lot of the stock. I lost the asset wealth from the business. I was only renting units. I had 2 units, so I didn't have any freeholds on any properties at the time, but I had my own private stuff. And luckily, I didn't lose so much. I paid off every supplier. No one was bumped for money. I even paid out my own money for that. So I lost a lot of wealth, but I left with a clean slate in terms of reputation, and I was still able to recover. That was the most important thing.
Because you understood that you would need those contacts in the future if you're going to run the same play.
That, and also just morally. I think knowing deep down, if I was the kind of guy that was willing to scam people over, especially this early in my career, that's going to set a precedence from going forward. And I've always understood the power of people, and the world is bloody small.
Yeah.
One thing I've learned as I've got older is the shit that you do always comes back to bite you. The people that you walk over on your way up will be there waiting to drag you down. And it's amazing how quickly people find you and connect to you. Because that person you scammed 10 years ago may not creep up until you've recovered and you're doing a massive deal in another part of the world, and you sit down, it's about to go through, and then all of a sudden a friend of a friend has spoken to that guy that you scammed, and they show the proof that you fucked them over. That's going to come out. Assume that everything that you do in life is going to come back to bite you, and act with that.
I got done for $500,000 in a week in 2022.
Nice.
Have you ever lost $500,000 in a week before?
Not in a week, but I lost more than that with the e-commerce business over a period of time.
Right.
So I know how it feels.
So, but you imagine how that feels in a week. Because I wasn't as wealthy as you were at 19 in that week, put it that way. So you had way more millions stacked up than me at that particular point in time. And it just, honestly, it affected me for 12 months. Like everything. Whilst I was trying to keep contentremoval.com going, whilst I'm trying to pay back these things, while I'm trying to pay down this tax bill, while I've got to pay these accountancy stuff, I've lost all this money over here. I'm like, because I've been ripped off by third-party partners. And that's why I advise all service-based businesses to keep everything in-house. Don't outsource or sell on other people's services, because that's when you get absolutely annihilated. So, key lesson, but I didn't understand that at that time. And it completely wiped me for a year. But the lessons I learned within that have allowed me to scale way beyond that in my life with what I'm doing now and everything I've got going on. But really painful. Like that is equivalent to getting knocked on your ass. That is.
Yeah, it sucks.
Because you just have to swallow it and just be like, do you know what? you've done me there, and there is nothing I can do about it. And it's just, I've walked onto another one. Because it is a choice. In business, life, boxing ring, anything, it's the shots that you can't see, but the thing that annoys you is you always walk onto it. You walk onto it. You can see it because if you stand back far enough, you can see it. But you were standing in the pocket when you were trading, weren't you? So you were in range. So you got knocked the fuck out, didn't you? Because you were in range. You didn't have to be in range. That's the whole point. So going on from that, it's like, I understand exactly how you felt when you lose everything, because in that moment you feel like you're losing everything as well. You know, losing that money. But what is it? Why have you moved on to this personal brand and pushing this so hard now? Because your whole branding goes entirely opposite to like a Tate or someone like that online. So why are you so passionate when you're making money in e-commerce, when you're making money the way that you have with the mentorship stuff, and why have you driven so hard into the personal branding?
No, I became what I would class as pretty successful in business throughout my 20s. I was in massive grind phase. I called the 20s my grind phase. So I said to myself, I was like, Elliot, you're going to sacrifice absolutely everything to build a foundation for your future family and yourself. And egotistically, something that you can, be proud of and show off. That's what I wanted. I wanted legacy. I was like, I'm going to do everything in my power. And that was all the way through to bodybuilding. So I was big. I lost, in the last year alone, I'm down 23 kilos of muscle, like from where I'm at now. Because I took everything to an extreme. I'm 33 now. So through my 20s was like, I'm going hard. So I became successful in multiple areas, 7-8 figure businesses. For all intents and purposes, killed it on the entrepreneurial side. And it wasn't until I got married and I had my first son that things started to change. So my eldest son now is 4, nearly 5. So late 20s, this is when this whole pivot in my life started to happen. And I realized that when you have a child, you then become way more, certainly for me, aware of who you are as a man, especially when you have a son. Because I was very aware at that point that everything that I do is going to be watched by him. And as a result, my benchmark is, would I want my son copying me and acting in a way that I am? And would I be happy with the path I have pursued for him to follow the same? When you start asking those questions about your son, all of a sudden, these lies that you've been telling yourself about who you are and whether or not you're actually happy with who you are, suddenly start to come to the surface. Because actually, no, I wouldn't want him doing that way, acting that way. I'd rather be a little bit more family oriented, a bit more present. Oh, hang on a minute. If it's not good enough for my son, why is it good enough for me? And I suddenly realized at 29, quite scarily, that I was not necessarily being congruent with what I truly held as core values, because those are obviously the things that you'd want to impose on your son. So this is a really good framework for anyone, even if they haven't got kids. If you were to have a child, would you be happy for the M to act in a way that you do right now, to do everything that you do, obviously within reason? And if people truly ask themselves that, they'll probably be very scared and also enlightened at the answers that start to come to fruition. And it certainly did for me. And as a result, it was the first time I became actually aware of others. And I'll be totally honest with you, through my 20s, I was selfish. Like I was selfish for, not from a standpoint of it's all about me. It was selfish from I'm going to do whatever I need to do to build the empire for my family and others. And I want to have big impact. But it was selfish to the point where I didn't care, or I wasn't aware of others. It wasn't I didn't care, I just didn't see anybody else. I didn't see other kids, I didn't see other families, I didn't see anyone else. I didn't see my partners, I didn't see my parents. I saw the goal that I had to achieve to make the money so that I could be the man that I thought I needed to be for my family and others. And ultimately what I realized was that wasn't me, because I then suddenly looked at all these other kids and these other people that had been following similar role models that I had followed, and also the life that I was living. And now getting to that age, being blessed, by the way, to have been awakened to this realization, going, think some people are going down the wrong path here. I'll tell you what, because I've managed to achieve the things that most people would, aspire to have. The Lamborghinis, the Rolls Royces, the mansions, the penthouses. I've done all the materialistic stuff, got the physique. So I've done the things that everyone said. I said, well, actually, I'm going to start becoming a gentleman that my son would be proud of, that I can be prouder of. So the way I dress, the way I hold myself, the way I conduct myself, how I am with women, the things that I actually truly hold dear, how I'm with my mother, with my father, with my brother, with my siblings. And I started acting differently from 29 onwards with my son. And then the last couple of years, I decided actually, because I noticed more and more people getting bigger online. There's certain role models pushing the red pill. Had a very different perspective on certain elements of life. Now, it's not to say that I don't agree with all of their stuff. There's a lot of stuff that's good. But there was a lot of stuff that I also realized was going to make people very unbalanced and ultimately potentially very unhappy if they followed that route, as I had all this stuff and I just didn't feel fulfilled. So then, in the last 2 years, I thought, nah, I think I can be someone that can start to lead people in a different direction. And all I want to do is show people that you can play the game differently. You can have the supercars, you can have all the wealth in the world, but you can have the other 4 pillars in your life, which is mindset, personal image, the way you look, the way you dress, health and fitness. How healthy are you? Like physically, emotionally, the relationships that you have. That's with your partner, your parents, your work colleagues, your employees, your friends, people you meet on the street, doesn't matter, with other human beings. And having those 4 things intact. Because what I realized was, the irony of the humans is we get into things such as making money for the other 4 pillars. It's like the gym, right? So every man starts the gym because they normally want to attract a female and want to feel more comfortable and confident in themselves. So they sign up. They start going to the gym 2 or 3 times a week. They clean up the diet a little bit. Other men start going, fuck me, bro, you look good. Women start to notice you and you think, all right, you go out to clubs, you're wearing slightly tighter t-shirts and you're feeling fucking awesome about yourself. This is great. Bump up to 5 days a week in the gym. Get a little bit bigger. Oh, mate, the marginal returns of me going to the gym are insane right now. I'm becoming the man. I'm more confident. I'm landing job roles. This is awesome. 7 days a week in the gym. Start really watching what you eat, dialing everything in. You stop going out. You stop going to social events. You go to the cinema with your chicken and rice Tupperware. Then all of a sudden you become miserable because your entire life is predicated around building your physique. And then, before you know it, you're now sacrificing all of the things that you initially went and got that physique for, because you're no longer finding women. You're no longer going out with your mates feeling great about yourself. You're now looking in the mirror, displeased that you're not 2.5% body fat and you're only 8%. And there's not veins on top of veins. And then you're more miserable than when you first started. The same applies to money. Now, it's not to say that money's bad. It's not to say that the physique is bad. The problem is that we use a catalyst like these things, like money, for good or for bad. It's a bit like alcohol, is another analogy. If you take an amazing, I know you don't drink, but if you take an amazing environment, great group of lads, you're all having the best time, the vibe is good, you all love one another, you throw alcohol in the mix. What happens to the mood?
Elevates.
Oh man, it goes off. It's an amplifier. Now, if you take a group of depressed people that hate one another, they're all going through a shit time in life, and you're going through alcohol in the mix, I don't need to even say what's going to happen. Money's the same. You take bad mindset, you take all the other pillars and you push everything into money, everything else breaks down. You see degradation of family units. You see kids hating their parents. You see health going off the rails. You see just this obsession of mindset that just cripples you because you didn't make as much money as you did last month, so you're depressed. You lose a client, you lose your mind. But you then take money and you retire your mum. You go and buy a Ferrari with, this is another thing, like, you know, if you lose all those relationships and you burn all those bridges and you earn all this money, is this going to end up leading you to depression? Because let's say, for example, you get to the point where you can buy your first Ferrari. It's Ferrari day. I'm off to the dealership. And you've gone so far down the red pill route, you burn all the bridges under the sun, so your staff aren't going to come with you. You've got no parents that really give a shit. You've got no friends. You've got no girlfriend that really gives a shit. So you end up at the dealership on your own. You go pick it up. You drive it home, and you put a picture on social media. That didn't feel great. Versus you go pick up your Ferrari for the first time, and your parents come. Your girlfriend's there, she's in the car, your best mates are coming, and you all go there as a squad, and you celebrate your success because of all of the hard work that you all built together, you put into that thing. How does that feel? The money amplified the emotion. It's the same with security, right? So you got money, you can amplify your mindset, you can amplify the way you look, you can amplify your relationships, you can amplify your health and fitness. So all I'm saying is don't sacrifice everything for money. Use money to excel the other areas in your life, and don't just ever lose sight of that. Because we got into making money for the freedom, for all the nice things that we want. And ultimately we forgot that and we lost that. And I'm seeing that more and more, especially in young guys. These 18-year-old kids that are hell-bent on just sacrificing everything for that. And I'm not to say you shouldn't sacrifice. Oh, we absolutely should. There should be periods of sacrifice, but I'm just saying you can play the game better. The best way to look at life is not to build the game you want to complete. Build the game that you never want to stop playing. There's nothing worse than inviting your mates around to play a game, to pull out all the consoles and all of the games you've got in the drawer and say, well, we've completed them all. Where's the fun in that? Instead, build a game, your life, such that you'd play it until you died. That should be the goal for everybody.
What about the games like, there's games when me and you were younger, like GTA when it first came out, right? And you'd be playing the game, you'd be playing the levels, and yeah, that you'd like to play the levels and but you'd always like a few little cheat codes. What are some of the cheat codes to life that you've found that you're happy to use?
Best cheat code I ever found was finding a strong woman to be with me as much as I possibly could. Having a strong woman by my side to align my focus, because men, we are, especially more masculine men, we're obsessed with women. When we're single, we don't have a woman in our life, I like to think. You're distracted by it. Now, we talked about focus earlier. Being focused is the cheat code. To be consistent at something will eventually make you successful. I have yet to see someone that turns up every fucking day, knocking at the door, grafting their ass off, not at some point actually making that thing a success. Yes, the time differs from different people, but if you turn the fuck up every day with a good strategy, no matter what, at some point you will become successful. So the consistency is key. The focus is key. The biggest cheat code for that is for men to stop being distracted by women. Because we all know when you are single and there's 300 women out there that you could message, that's on your mind more than business. Me having a strong woman that I was really comfortable with, that I knew that I didn't need to think about any other women after, was the thing that gave me the vision and focus on business and takes that massive loop away that was constantly in your head.
There's a statistic, isn't there, that says that a man with a good woman makes more money than a single man, or a man with like 2 or 3 girlfriends.
I'd bet my life on it even without knowing the statistic. I'd bet my life on it just from what I've experienced. I can only go off of what I've seen and what I've experienced.
So how much more have you made since you've been with your wife?
Infinitely more. It's almost impossible to quantify, but it's not that I've just made more money, it's that I'm happier doing it.
Help me out here, Elliot, right?
I'll help
I'm
you.
a 36-year-old man, quite a good-looking bald legend, I think.
I think so, you're a handsome chap.
How should I be looking right now in the marketplace as we see it? And we'll call it a marketplace, even though you won't like that word, but we'll call it...
Everything's a marketplace.
Everything's a marketplace. When it comes to me finding a woman in the pursuit of the goals that you know that I'm in pursuit of, how do you think I should structure that? Like, should I be, going out on loads and loads of dates right now, or should I be focused on the pursuit of the podcast and the pursuit of my business, and then just allow it to align with me? How should I be approaching it?
So one, you need to be open. Secondly, and most importantly, you need to know deep down that you're worthy of the woman that you are after. That's the biggest problem I see with most men, is they don't actually respect themselves enough. So they have a tolerance level way lower than they should. because they don't love themselves, they don't respect themselves enough. When you become the man deserving of the woman that you want to attract, and you know that to be the case, all of a sudden you won't entertain all the other crap that's out there. And all of a sudden you start to see things and see women that you never saw before. So first and foremost, work on you. Become the man you admire and respect when you look in the mirror. Become that gentleman. Then make a very, very strong list of things that you want and what you're not willing to tolerate. So you know that when that thing comes into your life, it's right.
I've written down exactly the type of woman I want. I've written all the things that I will accept and all the things I won't accept. They're all listed out. Like everything's listed out.
And the next thing after that is you have to elevate the hell out of yourself.
And this is what I'm in the process of doing. Like I want to change everything in my life. Even I'm elevating all the time, but I keep wanting to change more and more and more because I know I'm walking.
I get told all the time by people that, you know, oh yeah, you can't just improve yourself and expect women to come. You have to be proactive. And yes, I believe you do. You also have to be open to women coming into your life. Now, let me ask you this. You've obviously become more financially successful. Obviously, you're not as successful as you want to be. Either am I. We never will be. But have you found, as you've elevated your skills and your net wealth, that then other people in higher caliber positions in life, we just had a chat off camera about, you've got a friend who's worth 200 million, for example, because you are becoming a better man at business and in life, that just in that realm alone, your network between men has suddenly opened up and the right kind of people just suddenly appear.
Yeah.
That's because you have got better. The reason people don't see that is because they haven't elevated themselves in that realm. Women are exactly the same. It's just they're not approaching it that way because there's so many egotistical, arrogant men that like to tell you that they are fully in control of their entire life, their domain, and everyone else, you know, is compliant around them. And then they blame the lack of women on the women when they say and admit that they are leaders. So therefore, you are accountable for the standard of the women that are around you. And if you're not seeing them, it's not because they're not there, it's because you're not good enough, motherfucker. That's the difference.
Just keep elevating the character. That's one thing I'm always in the pursuit of. Just keep elevating the character. Keep creating a newer version of myself as I'm going through this journey. And like attracting the women has never been a problem. It's just that I know that there's so many levels to the game. It's what I'm more concerned about is when do you hang the gloves up? Not that I can attract women. I've always been able to attract the women. That's not a problem. My question to you is like, when you're in the pursuit of a big goal and you know how fucking big my goals are that I'm in pursuit of right now, when do you hang the gloves up on the route to the goal? Attracting the women is not the problem. There's infinite amount of those that can be attracted. Like, fuck me. If you went into my DMs, you'd see. But that's not the issue. The issue is, when do you hang the gloves up as a man? You
never hang them up. And the difference is here, because you now have a lower tolerance for anything that isn't exceptional, you're able to filter much faster. It's like being in a business, right? When you don't have any other options and you hire someone, but they're shit, but you need them because there's no other finances or resources. You're not able to recruit anyone else. So you deal with the headache and you deal with it for longer than you probably should. It's like people that get into their first relationship and they have it for 3 or 4 years and they waste all this time. Whereas you now are like, within a second, you're like, nope. So what's happening is the frequency of the women that you're meeting is actually increasing. Therefore, as you elevate, that will only increase. But because your tolerance is low, you can test faster until you find the right one.
So when you call it test fast, or how are you testing?
So you have your criteria.
So you just run them against the criteria.
Yes, and there's you also have to be aware that it might be you blocking this too. Like I meet a lot of men that put a massive guard up as well.
Yeah, I think I'm definitely that person.
So it's either coming from a place of not wanting to get her or ego, one or the other.
I think it's a bit of both.
Both, right?
Yeah.
And it's, am I willing to allow this person into my life to potentially derail my goals? But the problem is as well, we're getting spouted a lot of crap from people right now that the influence from women is negative. Now, that's so binary. What does that mean? Some guy said to me the other day, he went, Elliot, I don't know if I want to have a girlfriend because I don't know if I want to deal with the stress. I was like, you've already made the decision that this thing coming into your life is only going to give you stress. anything that's going to be a net negative to you, of course you wouldn't have in your life. But you'd hope that this thing that you adopt, whatever it may be, a woman, staff, health regime, would add benefit to you over and above the costs. Because obviously there is pros and cons to having a woman in life, especially when you're trying to build an empire. But you need to look for the positives in it. And for me, like I said, I treated finding my wife like finding my CEO. I was very aware after having a very bad run of relationships. I've done all the red pill, dating multiple people, messaging people, meeting several people in a day. I've done all that. Done that too. So I've made all the mistakes. I've fucked up, truly. And I was like, nah, I've got to treat this differently. So I was like, okay, how do I employ my staff? And this one is the most important person, because I knew if I got the right woman, the right lady, this relationship would fuel everything above and beyond anything else I could do. Or if I don't find the right lady, I'd better off have none, because the wrong one can derail. It's like having a CEO or a COO of your business, right? You put the wrong one in place, the whole thing comes crumbling down. Put the right one, the whole thing accelerates.
See, this is the issue, right? So someone like Andrew Tate would say to me, well, he has said to me, like, why would you settle on one woman when you're on your upward trajectory the way that you are? Why wouldn't you just leave yourself open to the access that you have?
That's coming from a man that's never been blessed enough to have a lady that good in his life. Because when you find one true woman that can align your focus, that you never need to look for someone else for, I can only explain this from a place of having found that. And I cannot tell someone without having found that just how powerful that is, because I've done the other. But that can only come from a man that's never found it, because I cannot explain to you with words just how transformative it is when you find that one woman. And you would never, ever need or have the yearn to find others, because I can tell you from experience that is the best thing you can possibly have.
I've seen the way that you look at your wife, and I've seen the way that my dad looks at my mum. So I understand how, I know you can't put it into words because I see it, and I can't even put it into words how I describe that, right? In terms, but I just know that you're complete. I know it exists. I know it exists, and I know it would amplify me and my journey, right? But I'm also hesitant from the point of view is like, if I fuck it up, I put myself like years back, like, and there's that. I'm like, wow, this is a big decision.
Of course it is. It's like making an investment. Okay? So you got to look at the pros and cons in anything in life. Everything's game theory. You either do it or you don't. And like an investment, you have to analyze the risk versus reward profile of that decision. And I'm going to look at this like completely crudely, like a business decision, like an investment, because it is an investment in your future, the biggest investment you can possibly make, especially have kids with that person. Okay? Now, it's like, okay, if I put a decision into taking this thing on and I get it wrong, it can do this amount of damage, versus if I get this decision right, it can have this amount of positive effect. And for me, the positives always outweigh the negatives. However, like with a business decision, you need to be as calculated as possible in choosing that investment wisely. It's not just a frivolous decision. And this is why you have to approach it in a way that is calculated. You have to know exactly what you want, what you're looking for, and how to find it when you see it. And the great thing is, because you've actually witnessed that relationship and what it looks like, you have something to benchmark against.
Well, where I've gone wrong in the past when it comes to women is I've picked the most spiciest women you can imagine.
Nothing wrong with spicy,
and there's nothing wrong with
they're all spicy.
There's nothing wrong with the spiciness level. But what I've realized is that they're all from broken homes, right? Whereas I'm not from a broken home. I'm not saying that women from broken homes can't make good partners, because they absolutely can. But the ones that I've chosen to pick and the red flags that I've chosen to overlook in that is the fact that, you know, they're not willing to look at the scars and the trauma that they've come from that and overcome it. So it's like you can't when you give love to a woman like that, she can't accept it because she hasn't seen it in her childhood. So she'll find all ample reasons why to blow that fucking thing up or try and cause drama and stuff like that. And I've dated I've had two girlfriends through this 5-year podcast journey, and both of them in the time that I was podcasting whilst I'm trying to keep this thing up in the air, it's been infinitely harder for me. And I felt like it's held me back. And I don't want to feel that again. You know? So it's like, at the moment, the way I'm feeling when it comes to dating is like, I want this beautiful, elegant partner that's going to elevate me, like what I see you have and what I see other men have. I want that. But in the same token, it's like, I don't want to take the risk now because I've felt it twice, feeling like shit. And I'm like, I don't want to feel like that either.
Where's the fucking risk? Because you've just told me you went for spicy people that came from broken families. Typically, those are only really desired by egotistical men that love to control women, that don't want them for love. They want them for complicit natures that they have and a tendency to need a man in their life, not through love, but through security and fear, because that's what they know and that's what they've witnessed. And that's an attractive trait for a man that wants that. Whereas I wouldn't even go for someone like that because that is certainly not my tick list. For me, the heritage of that woman, their family, is the most important thing to me.
Yeah.
The relationship they have with her father, more importantly, is the first thing I look at. So when I used to go on dates, the first thing I would get into is...
First question now.
What's your family like? Yeah. What's your relationship like? How often do you speak to them? What are your parents like? How long have they been married for? So what has she experienced and what is her dependence like on men, and how potentially broken has she been from that man and other men in her life? There's 4 billion women out there, give or take.
Oh yeah.
And you already know what doesn't work for you. So why the fuck have you been wasting your time with that, knowing that? So you're sitting here telling me one thing, I'm struggling, yet you've not actually done the thing you need to do. It's like most people, they're like, I want to get into shape. Are you going on a calorie deficit and going to the gym? Well, not yet. Okay, but you're telling me here, you know all the things you need to do. We even have conversations. You have every single thing that you could possibly need in your life right now to live unbelievably successfully in every realm of your life. Health, wealth, relationships, everything. I've spent a very short period of time with you, but you also know it. And you need someone to just give you permission to say, what the fuck are you doing?
I hold myself back from it. I've held myself back from a lot of good potential partners, that's for sure. And I think I've been guilty of pursuing the old version of Frankie pre 30 years old a couple of times and then trying to relationship up those people.
I would argue that most men that go for these broken women that don't find what they're looking for is because they know deep down they're not worthy of a true lady just yet. So and as a result, they put walls in front of them and they purposely derail, self-sabotage the pursuit of finding that person because they know deep down they're not worthy of it. Because as soon as you feel you are the gentleman and worthy of it, you will allow it to come. And this is the main reason people don't ever get wealthy, because they derail their journey towards it because deep down they don't feel like they deserve it.
So how do you overcome that self-worth piece then? There must be a little, I don't feel like deeply wounded and unworthy of this good woman in my life. I feel very worthy of her, but there must be some form of truth in what you're saying because obviously it's not in my reality right now. So how would I overcome that then? How would I feel that even deeper rooted worthiness to attract that partner? And how would everyone else feel that? How would you instill that?
Like I said, you got to focus on the other pillars in your life and then start becoming the gentleman that you admire and respect, which then starts coming from, okay, am I actually living in accordance with my morals and ethics because of what you want?
But you know me. Aren't I already doing that?
Yes, and this is why now you're starting to question and becoming very aware of the bad decisions you've been making. Because up until this point, you've been subconsciously sabotaging, but you're now in this transitional period where very soon you're going to find this woman, this lady. I know it because I know the way you talk, and I've seen it over and over again when men start to become consciously aware of the fact that they're making these mistakes. Before, you wouldn't have been aware that you were attracting these women. Now you are, because all of a sudden you now are starting to become worthy of that lady. You now no longer have the tolerance for anything less.
So what you're saying is I've done the work, but now I'm having the realization of where I've let myself down by just taking myself off the path and looking at the old versions.
The old version of you, deep down, wasn't worthy of the lady that you now are. And because of that, you're now becoming very intolerant and very aware of ones that aren't right because you know you're worth more. Right.
Worthy of the man that I know, I'm not the lady. You know
you're worthy of the lady that's now going to come.
Yeah. So... Yeah, but it's mental, isn't it? That you have to go through all of these different steps to be able to, as a man especially, you have to go and get your money right, then you have to go and get your body right, then you have to go and get your mind right, then you have to elevate and build a brand and everything. You have to do all of that, and then the woman can just be gorgeous, innocent, and
making a shitload of money nowadays is a fucking cop out. All these red pill guys are like, yeah, just push and make your money. I'm like, no, you got to be better than that. You got to be hybrid. You got to fucking excel in every area. You've also got to be that guy that's present when you're with your family over Christmas period, and when you're there with your kids, and you're in a room and they're speaking to you and you're on your phone because you're trying to make work happen and you've got things going on. You got to do both. When I first had kids, mate, I had a tremendous amount of guilt. I couldn't connect with my son when he first came. I was so hell-bent on believing that the best thing I could be doing for my family was become an ATM machine. And I so wholeheartedly believed it that I told my in-laws, I told my wife, I would argue aggressively when they used to pull me up on the fact that I wasn't as present as I could be. I wasn't really witnessing my son grow up in his first 6 months of his life because I was so focused on making money because that's what a man does. No, motherfucker, a man does that, plus he's present, plus he's a great father, plus he's the support and security for his wife, plus he's a good son-in-law. He's great for his family. He deals with all of their shit and burdens and gets up super early every day, even though he's been up all night changing nappies and doing the shit and helping his wife. I mean, I was blessed. I had a wife that did a lot of that for me. But it's still a tremendous toll, and you've got to be present for it. You can't just do the one thing.
One of the other limiting beliefs I've been trying to overcome as well is that in order for me to have this quote unquote woman in my life that you know we've discussed on this podcast, that I would have to go and settle in one location, and that would stop me from reaching my goal with the podcast as well. That's one of the things I've been trying to work out. Now, help me overcome this.
You seem to have a lot of limited beliefs. However, I will say one thing, actually. I've spent a fair amount of time in Dubai now. I do think it's easier to find ladies in different locations. The reason being, depending on where you are on the planet, there's obviously different cultural traits, okay? What I've seen in Dubai, sometimes in the UK as well, is that a lot of the ladies that I've met, or the women I've met, are actually not acting in accordance with what makes them happy. So society, and this is where sometimes we can maybe disregard a good woman because we don't necessarily see below the surface, because they might have been highly influenced by society, by the feminist movement, to act in a way which actually isn't truly them. Now, I'm not sitting here saying that women can't be entrepreneurs, they don't need to have, like, they should have kids and, you know, all this crap. I'm saying if that's truly what makes them happy, then fucking go do your thing. But I actually believe that most women are more traditional. Most women do want a traditional relationship. They do want a husband that provides and has those things. Yet society, a bit like where we were manipulated into believing we had to act and live in a certain way, and it only takes a long amount of time and introspective thought to break those layers back and realize that's not the case. You know, a lot of women are the same there too. I'm noticing in Dubai, the West, there's a lot of these layers that have been imposed on them, and they're not truly happy deep down. And ultimately, when you break them back, they actually become the lady that you want, but sometimes you need to guide them on that path.
Dubai is an absolute meat market. It destroys women's souls out here.
And that's the problem.
And it's soul destroying to watch because, you know, they come out here, they might come out with the values that you say, and then they go into the other things. They're at the beach clubs, they're doing this, that, and the other. There's nothing wrong with the beach clubs, but it's the lifestyle that kind of environment starts to bring into their lives. I've just seen it destroy many.
The guys like yourself with a platform and the ability to lead, as I do, need to start showing a different message so that people may start to wake up to the fact there's actually better ways of doing this thing, and they might not be living in accordance with what they believe to be true. And with regards to you moving, let me ask the question. You told me Australia is your spiritual home. I've only heard you say good things about that place. You've told me that you don't need to be anywhere else in the world. Yet once again, you know exactly what you want, but we're in Dubai. Why?
I'm still trying to figure that out, mate. I'm still trying to figure it out.
Ask a man why twice, and normally he's completely lost for words. And this is the point I'm trying to make at the start of this podcast: is ask yourself why.
Oh, no, I'm writing this all the time. I'm journaling about this. I'm like, what?
Okay.
I'm like, why am I in? Because I can only stay in Dubai for a maximum of 2 months, and then I'm like, right, I have to leave this place because this is not my place. But I come here and I do good work and I do good podcasts and I've got good opportunities and I create other things. But I'm like, there's so many elements of my life that can't be achieved here. But then I think to myself, well, if I go back to Australia, that's great, but I'm so far away from all the podcasts in America that I need to access as well, you know, and I have to overcome that limiting belief. So
you are probably in the best place right now to illustrate the point I'm going to make.
Good.
What was Dubai 100 years ago?
A desert.
What's here now?
One of the biggest cities in I suppose the region.
So you can claim victim mindset that a location doesn't have the things you need, or you can fucking man up and make the thing a reality.
Yeah.
Become the magnet. Make Australia the fucking podcasting hub of the planet. So fucking good that people are flying over from FOMO because you have it going on out there.
Australia has everything going on. It's just geographically.
It wouldn't matter if you were in a field, if you were in a desert, if you were in Timbuktu. It doesn't matter. You make it a reality. That's the great thing about entrepreneurship and life, is that if you have the skill set, you can create any reality you want in any place at any time. And I truly believe that. You've got all the fucking tools, mate.
Yeah.
And if you're not in Australia next year, we're going to fall out.
Might go to Australia after I've been to Bulgaria to see your place there. But
Case in point, right?
But no, I think, and when I went to Australia like a couple of months ago, I was like, fuck, I love this place. I fucking love it. So mate, even my energy just...
I'll make a prediction right now.
What?
I reckon me and you will be having a conversation. It'll be this time, maybe 2025 or 2026. You'll be in Australia. I'll hopefully fly out. We'll do another podcast, and you'll sit there. You'll have found the best woman of your life, and you'll have the biggest podcast in Australia.
I reckon I already have one of the biggest podcasts in Australia right now.
We'll make that.
But that's
when I say biggest podcast in Australia, I mean globally.
Yeah.
You'd have broken into America, the rest of the world, but because you'll be acting in accordance with who you are and what you love, you will become the energy, and everything will then be attracted to you.
Yeah, the reason why I wanted to be open and honest on this podcast and talk a bit at the end here about myself and the struggles that I'm overcoming is because I want this audience to understand that no matter what level that you're trying to achieve in the game, there's always things that you're trying to overcome. And I really wanted to seek that advice from you on here, because I think if I can overcome these elements, I think I can go to a whole different fucking level myself. But I want every single one of you that watches this and watches me talk about this openly, that there's areas of your life that you're probably not as actively open on talking about that I'm on talking about right now, that you should be talking about, and you should be seeking advice from people who are ahead of you in the game. Like Elliot's got a nice wife, he's got 2 children, he's got a beautiful home, he's got it set. He lives across 2 countries, you know. So I'm seeking advice from a man that I respect to learn the game that I've not learned yet. So that's why I do it.
I love that point, and I think humans are so scared of actually realizing what's going to come out about themselves when they ask themselves why. They never challenge the thought, because they know deep down it's going to be very different to the life they're living, and the pain of that is too much to bear, so they shut it off and continue about their monotonous life. Be around people that challenge you, that make you ask yourself, why the fuck am I not changing my life? Why am I living in Dubai when I should be in Australia? Why am I attracting and pursuing women that I know aren't good for me? Why?
Yeah.
And you need the people in your life to enable you to face that fear of realizing that you're being a schmuck and actually not doing what you know you should be doing.
Well, you're not being congruent with who you've elevated to become. That's what it is. Let's be real about it.
And that's the issue with so many men and women that are now, like you say, women that have become feminists that not truly are. Guys that become super red pill, that are burning everything for the pursuit of something that's actually not making them happy. When actually, you know, you might be that person. Great, do you? But you need to ask the question, is it really you? Is all this noise influencing me to become someone that I'm not? And then you can change the game and just play it better. And you will become ultimately more successful in the thing that you're trying to become successful in, because ultimately then you then start to enjoy it all and everything will unfold. As kooky as that fucking sounds, it's true. It honestly is. It just starts to unfold when you get this right. Otherwise, it's just constant battles and banging your head against a brick wall because life is telling you, bro, you're going down the wrong fucking path. And it's trying to tell you by putting things in your way and making you not enjoy it, but you still continue to push knowing that it's not truly you.
What is the most profound lesson that you've learned in the last 6 months that you wish you'd learned in the last, like 10 years ago?
We have more impact than we realize. Since I've actually started to push the message that I have, I've seen so much momentum from others like yourself who then wake up. And I know you go down that whole system ideology, but truly, if you start to become the person you respect and admire, the people that then watch you will be led by you. And ultimately, we can actually do this a better way. And I didn't realize just how much impact we can now have. Like, we bash social media, we villainize the microphone, but because we're viewing it from the wrong lens. And I wish that I'd actually started pushing this earlier, because I'm loving watching guys change and, you know, see a better way of doing things, and ultimately watching you move to Australia and find a lovely wife, right, and have great kids. Nothing's better than that. And then you can do the same, and you'll influence people with your platform.
I mean, I've ever since I lived in Australia, I thought to myself, fucking hell, everywhere I go, I compare it to this place. You know what I mean?
I've never heard you speak about any other country as positively as Australia. That's all I've heard since I've met you.
I fucking love the place. That's why. I just like.
So why are you doing it? Help me understand.
No, because I thought, you know, I want to be one of the biggest podcasters in the world. That's my goal. I can't just stay in Australia and do it. I got to go conquer the world. So I'm out here and I'm swinging the fucking sword. I'm trying to fucking chop people down in England. I'm trying to chop Americans down. I'm trying to fight a fucking war on my own. You know.
So yeah, where was the biggest podcast of your career?
Probably, well, at the moment, Australia right now.
No. Let me rephrase that. Which podcast have you done that's the biggest, and in what location did you shoot it?
Romania.
It's an Eastern European country that no one really knows about. It's not the place, it's the person. You make it, mate. Bring it to you. Do what you want to do. And when you're in that place and your energy's there, like you say, if you want to get all spiritual about it, that's your spiritual home, you'll be operating on a frequency so damn high that everything coming into your life is at that same frequency.
Looks like I'm gonna have to book a ticket, doesn't it?
Hey,
Fucking hell. I was gonna try Bali next. That's what I was gonna do. I found myself trying all these different places to try and find the home that I feel I've already found. That's what I kind of realized during this podcast. I realized I'm trying to find a home that has already been found. Just allow it to be found. Just allow it. Just allow it. You found it. Just accept that you fucking found it. Don't keep trying to find new homes.
that goes for women too.
I think I've got to take it into that life as well. But I like to ask this question, Elliot, at the end of every podcast, because I really think it allows us to summarize this conversation and take things forward. But if there's one piece of information, one pearl of wisdom that you could drop on everyone in this audience right now that will move them 1% in their life further forward from today, what would that be to you?
Truly try to figure out what it is that you want. Take a weekend off of social media, away from friends and family, on your own. I'm literally talking alone. And ask yourself why about everything that's going on in your life. And figure out whether or not you really are on the right path. Because you truly only have one shot at this. I can't ram that home enough, especially when you're young, just how invincible you feel and how much time you think you have. But you're one bad decision away from being locked into something for 20 years. And ultimately, it's one why away from making a better decision. Simply.
I love that, bro. I love it. And I love the fact that you've, since we've known each other, you've challenged me on my thoughts around location. You've challenged me on my thoughts around my relationship status and what I'm doing and that. You challenged me on a lot of stuff, and I appreciate that, you know. And I hope I've challenged you on some stuff as well.
Mate, it's been an absolute pleasure. And for me, you can learn something from absolutely everybody, so you should be open to that as well. And I think you're an awesome guy. I can't wait to see you absolutely elevate in every area.
There's gonna be a lot. 2025 is gonna be a massive year of elevation for sure. Absolutely.
I can't wait to see it. And I want to be part of it.
Yeah, mate. We will. Bulgaria, I reckon. The content house that you're putting together. January.
That's going to be popping off. UK. We're going to have the hub.
The hub is on. But guys, do me a solid favor. I hope you got some value out of this conversation. Subscribe to this on the YouTube channel. Give us a review on Apple. Everything helps. Put this in someone's ear that you think it will help today. And I hope that me sharing some of the things that I'm overcoming in my life at the back end of this podcast, and Elliot giving me advice on it, has helped you in areas of your life where you should be questioning. Much love.
Cheers.
Guys, I hope you got value from this podcast. And if you did, hit that subscribe button and turn the bell notifications on. But guys, I've got these videos here that will take you to a whole new level as well. So don't sleep on these.